The fall. The night, everything changed. The crystal chandeliers sparkled like frozen tears above the grand ballroom. Elena Rivera stood alone near the champagne fountain, watching her husband laugh with people who would never accept her. 3 years of marriage, and she still felt like an outsider at these events. Marcus Thornwell looked perfect in his custom tuxedo. His dark hair was styled just right. His smile was bright as he talked to important business people. But that smile never reached her anymore. Elena remembered when he used to look at her like she was his whole world. Now he barely looked at her at all. She smoothed down her simple black dress. It was beautiful, but everyone else wore designer gowns that cost more than her parents made in a year. Elena had grown up in a small apartment above her father's bakery. She knew the smell of fresh bread and hard work. These people knew the smell of money and power. The mother's cruelty. There she is, the little artist. Elena's heart sank. Catherine Thornwell, Marcus's mother, walked toward her with 3 other wealthy women. They all wore expressions that said Elena didn't belong. "Catherine," Elena said politely, "you look lovely tonight." "Of course I do, dear. One must maintain standards." Catherine's eyes traveled over Elena's dress with clear disapproval. Though I suppose not everyone was raised to understand that. The other women laughed softly. Elena felt her cheeks burn with shame. "I heard you're still painting," one woman said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "How quaint. Like a little hobby." "It's not a hobby," Elena said quietly. "It's my passion." "A passion that doesn't pay bills," Catherine interrupted sharply. "Thank goodness my son is generous enough to support you. Though I do wonder what he saw in you. No family connections, no education from proper schools, no fortune of your own." Elena's hands trembled. She looked around for Marcus, but he was deep in conversation across the room. He must have heard his mother's voice. Everyone could hear her, but he didn't come. "Marcus loves me," Elena said, trying to sound confident. "Love?" Catherine laughed coldly. "My dear child, love is for fairy tales. Marriage in our world is about building empires, creating legacies. What legacy can you bring? Your father bakes bread, and your mother cleans houses." The words hit Elena like physical blows. She loved her parents. They were good, kind people who worked hard every day. They taught her the value of honesty and compassion. But here, in this world of wealth and power, those things meant nothing. "My parents are good people," Elena said, her voice stronger now. "I'm sure they are. Good, simple people." But Marcus needed more than good. He needed someone who could stand beside him in his world. Instead, he got, well, you. Catherine turned away, dismissing Elena like she was nothing. The other women followed, their laughter echoing across the marble floor. Elena stood there, feeling smaller than she ever had. She wanted to cry, but she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Not here. Not where everyone could see. The painful discovery. An hour later, Elena needed air. The ballroom felt too hot, too crowded, too full of people who looked down on her. She walked out onto the balcony, grateful for the cool night breeze. She was about to go back inside when she heard voices. They came from the garden below, hidden by shadows but clear in the quiet night. "You need to make a decision, Marcus." Elena froze. That was Victoria Chen's voice. Victoria was Marcus's business partner, elegant and wealthy, everything Elena wasn't. They spent long hours together working on deals and projects. "It's complicated, Victoria." "Marcus." Elena's heart started pounding. "What's complicated? You don't love her anymore. You told me that yourself." Elena gripped the balcony railing. The cold stone bit into her palms. "I know, but what? You're worried about what people will think. They already think you made a mistake marrying her. Your mother tells everyone who'll listen." "Victoria, please." "No, Marcus. We've been dancing around this for months. I love you. You love me. We make sense together. She was a mistake, a moment of temporary madness when you thought you could be different from your family. But you can't. You're a Thornwell. You belong with someone like me." Silence. Elena held her breath, waiting for Marcus to defend her, to say Victoria was wrong. "You're right," Marcus said finally, and Elena's world shattered. Marrying Elena was a mistake. I thought I could make it work, but I can't keep pretending. She doesn't fit in this world. She never will. So divorce her. I will. After the Harrison deal closes next month. I can't afford negative publicity right now. But then yes, I'll divorce her. Elena backed away from the balcony, her hand over her mouth to stop the sob trying to escape. She stumbled through the ballroom, not seeing the curious looks from guests. She found an empty room and finally let herself break. She cried for the man she thought she married. She cried for 3 years of trying to be good enough. She cried for the love she thought they shared. But mostly, she cried for herself, for the girl who believed in fairy tales. The cold reality. Elena didn't confront Marcus that night. She went home to their penthouse apartment and packed a small bag. She sat in the guest room, waiting for sunrise, making plans. Marcus came home at 3 in the morning. He never checked on her. He went straight to their bedroom. Their bedroom. It felt like a joke now. In the morning, Elena was dressed and waiting when Marcus came out for breakfast. "Elena? You're up early." He looked surprised to see her. "We need to talk." Something in her voice made him pause. "What's wrong?" "I want a divorce." Marcus's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. "What? You heard me. I want a divorce, Marcus. Where is this coming from? Is it because of last night? My mother can be difficult, but this isn't about your mother." Elena's voice was calm, though her heart was breaking. "This is about us. Or rather, the fact that there is no us anymore." Marcus set down his cup carefully. His businessman face appeared, the one he used during difficult negotiations. "Let's not be hasty. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. You don't love me. You probably haven't loved me for a long time. And I can't keep living in a world where I'm constantly reminded that I'm not good enough." "I never said you weren't good enough. You didn't have to say it. You showed it every day. Every time you let your mother insult me. Every time you introduced me as just my wife to your business friends. Every time you looked uncomfortable when I talked about my art or my family." Marcus's face went red. "That's not fair." "No. What's not fair is marrying someone and then making them feel like a burden." The business transaction. 2 days later, Elena sat in a lawyer's office. Everything felt cold and formal. Marcus's lawyer, Mr. Reynolds, was a thin man with glasses and a smile that never reached his eyes. "Mrs. Thornwell, your husband is being very generous." Mr. Reynolds pushed papers across the desk. "This settlement is quite fair considering the circumstances." Elena looked at the numbers. $200,000. It sounded like a lot, but she knew Marcus spent that much on a car. To him, this was nothing. "Considering what circumstances?" she asked. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat. "Well, the prenuptial agreement was very clear. And given your limited contribution to the marriage's financial situation." "I see." Elena felt numb. Even now, even at the end, they were reminding her that she wasn't good enough. "There's also a confidentiality clause. You agree not to speak about your marriage or Mr. Thornwell to the press or on social media. Any violation will result in legal action." "He wants to erase me completely." "I wouldn't put it that way, Mrs. Thornwell. This is simply standard practice in high-profile divorces." Elena picked up the pen. Her hand shook slightly as she signed. Each signature felt like giving away a piece of herself. But what choice did she have? She had no money for lawyers. No family connections to fight back. She was just the baker's daughter who dreamed too big. "Congratulations," Mr. Reynolds said when she finished, as if she'd just bought a house instead of ended her marriage. "The money will be transferred to your account within 48 hours. I must say, Mrs. Thornwell, this is quite generous for someone of your background." There it was again. Someone of your background. She was so tired of hearing it. Elena stood up. "Tell Marcus I hope he's very happy with Victoria." Mr. Reynolds's eyes widened slightly. So Marcus hadn't told his lawyer about his affair. Interesting. "I don't know what you—" "Yes, you do. Everyone knows. Everyone always knows everything in your world, don't they? They just pretend they don't to be polite." She walked out with her head high, even though she felt like crumbling. The tiny apartment. Elena's new apartment was in a part of the city she never visited when she was married. It was small, just one room with a tiny kitchen and a bathroom that had seen better days. But it was hers. She paid for it with her settlement money. She set up her easel by the window where the light was best. Her paints and brushes were the only things she took from the penthouse that really mattered. Everything else was just stuff, expensive stuff that never felt like hers anyway. The first night in her new place, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay on the air mattress she'd bought at a discount store and stared at the ceiling. The pipes made strange noises. Sirens wailed outside. It was so different from the quiet luxury of the penthouse. But it was also free. free from judgment, free from feeling inadequate, free from pretending to be someone she could never be. Elena got up and stood in front of her blank canvas. She picked up a brush and began to paint. She painted her pain. She painted her anger. She painted her shame. The colors were dark and violent at first, blacks and deep reds, slashes of gray. But as the sun started to rise, something changed. Hope crept into her work. Gold light breaking through darkness. A small flower growing in cracked concrete. Strength emerging from brokenness. By the time the sun fully rose, Elena had created something raw and powerful. It was the most honest piece she'd ever made. She stepped back and looked at it. Then she looked at herself in the small mirror hanging by the door. Her eyes were red from crying. Her hair was messy. Her old t-shirt had paint stains. But she was still here. Still standing. Still fighting. This isn't the end, she whispered to herself. This is just the beginning. The mysterious message. 3 weeks later, Elena was struggling. The settlement money was running out faster than she expected. Rent was expensive even in this neighborhood. Food, supplies, utilities, it all added up. She tried selling her art at a local market, but people just walked past. Nobody wanted paintings from an unknown artist. She was considering getting a job at a coffee shop when her phone buzzed. An email from an address she didn't recognize. Dear Ms. Rivera, I came across your work at the weekend market. Your painting, Breaking Free, spoke to me in ways I cannot fully express. I would like to purchase all of your available pieces. Please name your price. Regards. Yes. Elena read the email 3 times. This had to be a joke. Who bought all of an unknown artist's work? She replied cautiously, asking which pieces the person wanted. The response came within an hour. All of them. Every painting you have created. I am a serious collector, and I recognize talent when I see it. Please send me photos of your complete portfolio. Elena's hands shook as she photographed her paintings. She had about 30 pieces, 3 years of work she'd done in stolen moments when Marcus was at the office. She sent the photos, expecting no response. The reply came the next morning with a number that made her gasp. $50,000 per painting. $1.5 million total. This is too much, she typed back. My work isn't worth. Your work is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And to me, it is priceless. But let's call it an investment. I believe you will be famous one day, and I want to own your early work. Do we have a deal? Elena stared at the screen. This could change everything. But something felt strange. Why, she typed. Why me? Why so much? Because talent deserves support. Because potential deserves opportunity. Because sometimes, people need to believe in themselves, and the first step is having someone else believe in them first. Consider this my belief in you, Ms. Rivera. And one more thing. I have connections at the Beaumont Art Institute in Paris. They have an opening for their advanced program. All expenses paid, including housing. Would you be interested? Paris. The Beaumont Institute. It was one of the most prestigious art schools in the world. Elena had dreamed of studying there, but it was always impossible. Too expensive. Too exclusive. Too far from her reality. Yes, she typed, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I would be very interested. Excellent. The paperwork will arrive tomorrow. Your new life begins now, Ms. Rivera. Make it extraordinary. Elena sat in her tiny apartment, looking at the email, at the promise of a future she never imagined possible. She didn't know who ES was. She didn't know why they chose to help her. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would not waste this chance. She walked to her mirror and looked at herself. Really looked. Not at the girl who wasn't good enough for the Thornwell family. Not at the abandoned wife who signed papers with shaking hands. She looked at Elena Rivera, the artist, the survivor, the woman who was about to rise from the ashes of her broken marriage and become something amazing. Thank you, Marcus, she whispered. Thank you for breaking my heart. Because now I'm going to rebuild myself into someone you'll never forget. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it was real. Outside her window, the sun was rising over the city. A new day, a new beginning, a new Elena. The fall was over. Now came the rise. 3 years later, Paris. The Beaumont Art Institute stood like a palace on the banks of the Seine. Elena Rivera walked through its marble halls with confidence she never knew she possessed. 3 years in Paris had transformed her completely. She was no longer the uncertain girl who let others define her worth. Her dark hair was styled in an elegant cut that framed her face perfectly. She wore a tailored white suit that screamed sophistication. But the biggest change wasn't what people could see. It was what they felt when she entered a room. Power, grace, and undeniable talent. Ms. Rivera, Professor Du Bois called out, his thick French accent making her name sound like poetry. I have wonderful news. The gallery in New York wants to feature your collection. They're calling you the next rising star of modern art. Elena smiled. That's excellent news, Professor. Thank you for all your guidance. Guidance? My dear, I simply gave you the tools. You created the masterpiece that is your career. The world is finally seeing what I saw 3 years ago, pure, raw talent combined with fierce determination. As Elena walked through the courtyard, other students watched with admiration. She had arrived at Beaumont as nobody, but she was leaving as somebody. Her paintings now sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Critics called her work emotionally devastating and hauntingly beautiful. Fashion designers wanted to collaborate with her. Museums wanted her pieces for permanent collections. But Elena's success went beyond art. She had used her earnings wisely, investing in a small fashion startup that combined art with clothing design. The company, Rivera Designs, exploded in popularity. Celebrities wore her pieces on red carpets. Fashion magazines featured her collections. In 3 years, she had built an empire from nothing. The mystery revealed. Elena was packing her Parisian apartment when her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Ms. Rivera, this is Adrian Sinclair. Elena's hand froze. Adrian Sinclair. Everyone in the business world knew that name. He was a tech genius and venture capitalist who built companies and destroyed competitors with equal efficiency. He was also Marcus Thornwell's biggest rival. Mr. Sinclair, how can I help you? I believe we should meet. I have something important to discuss with you. I'm in Paris this week. Would you be available for dinner tonight? Something in his voice made Elena curious. All right. Where? Loose Sink. 8 o'clock. I'll send a car. The call ended before Elena could respond. She stood there, confused but intrigued. Why would Adrian Sinclair want to meet with her? Dinner with a stranger. Loose Sink was one of the most exclusive restaurants in Paris. Elena arrived in a stunning black dress that she designed herself. The maitre d' led her to a private room where a man sat waiting. Adrian Sinclair was not what Elena expected. She thought he'd be older, cold, intimidating. Instead, he was probably in his late 30s, with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. He stood when she entered, tall and elegant in a perfectly fitted suit. Ms. Rivera, thank you for coming. His voice was smooth and genuine. Mr. Sinclair, though I admit, I'm confused about why I'm here. Please, call me Adrian. And I think you deserve to know the truth. He gestured to the chair across from him. I am A.S. Elena sat down slowly, her mind racing. You bought my paintings? You got me into Beaumont. Yes. Why? Adrian poured wine for them both before answering. 3 years ago, I was at a weekend market in New York. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just walking, thinking about business problems. Then I saw your painting. Breaking Free. It was the most honest piece of art I'd ever seen. He took a sip of wine, his eyes distant with memory. I could feel your pain in every brushstroke. Your anger, your determination, your refusal to give up. I asked the vendor about the artist. She told me about you. The woman who came every weekend, hoping to sell just one piece. The woman who refused to give up even though nobody bought anything. You watched me. Elena felt strange hearing this. I researched you. I discovered you were Marcus Thornwell's ex-wife. And suddenly, everything made sense. I knew Marcus. I knew his family. I knew exactly the kind of people they were. Adrian's expression hardened. Marcus and I went to business school together. He always looked down on people he considered beneath him. He used people, took credit for their work, crushed anyone in his way. I've been competing against him for years. So you helped me to get revenge on Marcus? Elena felt disappointed somehow. No. Adrian's answer was firm. I helped you because you deserved help. Because talent and determination deserve support. The fact that you were connected to Marcus was just interesting timing. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs, her paintings hanging in his home. These pieces hang in my private collection. I look at them every day. They remind me that beauty can come from pain, that strength can come from breaking, that people can rise from the ashes of their worst moments. Elena's throat tightened with emotion. I don't know what to say. Say you'll partner with me. Partner? Adrian leaned forward. I've watched your career explode, Elena. You're not just an artist anymore. You're a businesswoman, a designer, a brand. Rivera Designs has potential to become a global empire. I want to invest in your company. I want to help you grow it into something that will last forever. And what do you get out of this? Honestly, a good investment. Your company will make money, and I'll profit from that. But also, he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I get to watch you succeed. I get to be part of something beautiful being built. Elena studied him. She had learned to read people during her marriage to Marcus. Adrian's eyes were honest. His offer seemed genuine. But there was something else there too. Something deeper he wasn't saying. There's more, isn't there? This isn't just about business. Adrian smiled sadly. You're perceptive. Yes, there's more. I've been in love with you for 3 years, Elena. Since the moment I saw your painting. I fell in love with your soul before I ever met you. The proposal. Elena's heart raced. You don't even know me. I know your art. I know your strength. I know that you walked away from wealth and comfort because you refused to compromise your dignity. I know that you took a chance from a stranger and turned it into an empire. I know that you're brave, talented, and extraordinary. Adrian, I'm not asking you to love me back. I'm asking you to let me be part of your life. As a business partner, as a friend, as whatever you're comfortable with. But I want to be honest about my feelings. Elena didn't know what to say. This was overwhelming. But she also felt something. A flutter of possibility, of connection. I need time to think about this. Of course. Take all the time you need. Adrian pulled out another envelope. In the meantime, I should tell you something else. I'm hosting a charity gala in New York next month. The same gala where Marcus's mother humiliated you 3 years ago. Elena's blood went cold. I'm not going back there. Hear me out. This year, I'm the host. And I'd like you to attend as my guest. Not as revenge, but as a statement. You're not the scared girl they dismissed anymore. You're Rivera, internationally acclaimed artist and successful businesswoman. You've become everything they said you couldn't be. Why would I want to prove anything to them? Not to them. To yourself. You've worked so hard, Elena. You've achieved so much. Don't let them steal your moment of triumph. Walk into that ballroom with your head high, show them what you've become, and then never think about them again. Elena thought about it. Part of her wanted to hide forever from that world. But another part, a stronger part, wanted to face them. Not for revenge, but for closure. And if I say yes, if I attend as your guest, then we go together. As partners, as friends, or as something more, whatever you decide. But I promise you this. Nobody will ever make you feel small again. Not while I'm standing beside you. Elena looked at this man who had believed in her when nobody else did. Who had given her a chance to rebuild her life. Who was offering her his heart without demanding anything in return. All right, she said finally. I'll go to the gala. And I'll consider your business proposal. Adrian's smile was brighter than the chandeliers. That's all I ask. The return home. Elena arrived in New York 2 weeks before the gala. The city looked different now. She wasn't scared anymore. She was coming home as a conqueror. Her first stop was her parents' bakery. Her father was behind the counter when she walked in. He looked older, more tired. But when he saw her, his face lit up like sunshine. Elena, Mihija. He rushed around the counter and pulled her into a tight hug. Her mother came running from the back room. Elena, you're home. They held her, crying and laughing at the same time. Elena felt guilty. She hadn't visited much during the past 3 years. She sent money, called regularly, but she had been focused on rebuilding herself. I'm sorry I stayed away so long, Elena said. Don't be sorry, her mother said, wiping tears. You needed to heal. You needed to become strong. And look at you now. Our daughter, the famous artist. They sat in the back room, drinking coffee and eating pastries her father made fresh that morning. Elena told them about Paris, about her success, about Adrian's offer. This man, her father said carefully. Adrian, you trust him? I think so. He helped me when I had nothing. He never asked for anything in return. That's a good man, her mother said. Not like that other one. Marcus. She said the name like it tasted bitter. Marcus was a lesson, Elena said. A painful one, but necessary. He taught me that I can't depend on someone else for my happiness. I had to find it myself. Her father took her hand. You were always strong, Mija. We raised you to be strong. But sometimes, Life breaks us down until we forget. That man, he made you forget. But you remembered. And now you're more powerful than ever. I learned from the best, Elena said, squeezing his hand. You and Mama, you worked so hard your whole lives. You never complained. You taught me that honest work and dignity matter more than money. We're so proud of you, her mother whispered. The preparation. The night of the gala approached quickly. Elena spent the days before working with her team at Rivera Designs. They had opened a flagship store in Manhattan, and it was already a huge success. Adrian visited the store one afternoon. He watched Elena work with her employees, giving feedback on designs, making decisions with confidence. You're amazing, he said when they took a break for coffee. I learned from experience. When you start from nothing, you learn to appreciate everything. Marcus is going to be at the gala, Adrian said carefully. I should warn you. His company has been struggling. The deal with Victoria Chin fell apart. She left him for Richard Ashford, someone even richer. Elena felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. What goes around comes around. There's more. His mother, Catherine, has been asking to meet with you. Through intermediaries, of course. She's too proud to call directly. What does she want? Probably to ask for help. My company acquired the Thornwell Industries last month. They're bankrupt. I own 60% of what used to be their family empire. Elena's eyes widened. And I'm supposed to be your partner, which means you'll own 40%. Yes, you'll effectively control the company that Marcus's grandfather built. The company his mother said you weren't good enough to be associated with. The irony was perfect. Almost too perfect. Did you plan this? Elena asked. Did you acquire their company because of me? Adrian met her eyes honestly. Partly. It was a good business decision. They were failing, and I got it cheap. But yes, I also did it knowing what they did to you. I did it knowing that one day, you'd have the power they said you'd never have. That's revenge. That's justice. There's a difference. Elena thought about this. She thought about Catherine's cruel words. About Marcus's betrayal. About every moment she felt small and worthless. But she also thought about who she'd become. About the empire she built from nothing. About the young artists she now mentored and supported. About the life she created through talent and determination. I don't want revenge, she said finally. I want to move forward. I want to build something beautiful, not tear down something broken. Adrian smiled, and Elena saw respect in his eyes. That's why you're better than all of them. That's why I fell in love with you. The night before the gala, Elena couldn't sleep. She stood in her hotel room, looking at the dress hanging on the closet door. It was her own design, a stunning creation in deep emerald green, elegant and powerful. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Can't sleep either. Meet me on the rooftop. Elena smiled and grabbed a jacket. The rooftop garden was beautiful under the stars. Adrian stood by the railing, looking at the city lights. Second thoughts? He asked when she joined him. A million thoughts. But not second thoughts. I'm ready for this. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Elena, I want you to know something, Adrian said. Tomorrow night, whatever happens, I'm proud of you. Not because you succeeded. Not because you're about to walk into that ballroom as a triumph. But because you survived. Because you didn't let them break you. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. You gave me that chance. No. I gave you money and opportunity. You gave yourself the strength to use them. That was all you. Elena turned to face him. Adrian, about what you said at dinner in Paris. About being in love with me. His expression became guarded. You don't have to. I think I'm falling in love with you too. Adrian froze. You think? I'm scared. The last time I loved someone, it destroyed me. But with you, it feels different. It feels real. Like you see me, not what I can be for you, but who I actually am. Adrian took her hands. I see you, Elena. I've always seen you. And tomorrow, the whole world will see you too. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Elena didn't pull away. She met his kiss halfway, and it felt like coming home. Not to a place, but to a person who understood her completely. When they pulled apart, Elena was smiling. Really smiling. Tomorrow is going to be interesting, she said. Tomorrow is going to be unforgettable, Adrian corrected. They stood on that rooftop until dawn, planning their future, talking about dreams, building something beautiful together. And when the sun rose over New York City, Elena Rivera wasn't scared anymore. She wasn't the broken woman who signed divorce papers with shaking hands. She wasn't the girl who let others define her worth. She was powerful. She was successful. She was loved and loving. She was ready to face her past and step fully into her future. The gala was tomorrow. Marcus would be there. His mother would be there. All the people who said she'd never amount to anything would be there. But this time, Elena wasn't walking in as somebody's wife. She wasn't begging for acceptance. She wasn't trying to fit into their world. She was bringing her own world with her. And it was magnificent. The grand entrance. The ballroom looked exactly as Elena remembered. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. Men in expensive tuxedos and women in designer gowns filled the space with laughter and champagne. The same people, the same wealth, the same world that once made her feel so small. But tonight, everything was different. Elena stepped out of the limousine, and cameras flashed immediately. Photographers shouted her name. Ms. Rivera, look this way. E. Rivera, who designed your dress? Ms. Rivera, is it true you're Adrian Sinclair's partner? Elena smiled confidently. I designed my own dress. And yes, Mr. Sinclair and I are partners in both business and life. Adrian appeared beside her, offering his arm. He looked stunning in a midnight blue tuxedo that matched his eyes. Together, they looked like royalty. They walked up the steps slowly. Elena's emerald green dress flowed behind her like water. Diamonds, real ones that she bought with her own money, sparkled at her throat and ears. Her hair was swept up elegantly, showing the graceful lines of her neck and shoulders. She was no longer the baker's daughter trying to fit in. She was E. Rivera, and the world knew her name. As they entered the ballroom, conversation stopped. Heads turned. Whispers began immediately. Is that Elena Rivera? The artist? She's here with Adrian Sinclair? I heard she owns half of Thornwell Industries now. She used to be married to Marcus Thornwell. This should be interesting. Adrian squeezed her hand gently. You're magnificent, he whispered. I'm terrified, she whispered back. Then we're terrified together. Come on. Let's show them what you've become. The mother's humiliation reversed. They hadn't been in the ballroom for 5 minutes when Catherine Thornwell appeared. Elena almost didn't recognize her. The woman who once stood so proud and cruel now looked smaller, older, worried. Elena, Catherine said, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. You look, well. Catherine. Elena's voice was polite but cold. What a surprise to see you. Catherine's eyes darted around nervously. People were watching, listening. I was hoping we could talk. Privately. I think anything you need to say to me can be said right here. Catherine's face flushed with embarrassment. She was used to controlling conversations, controlling situations. Now she was the one feeling uncomfortable. Please, Elena. It's about the company. About Thornwell Industries. You mean the company that Adrian now owns? The company I'm a major shareholder in. Yes. Catherine's voice dropped to almost a whisper. We need your help. Marcus needs your help. The board is voting next week on whether to dissolve the company completely. If you vote with Adrian to save it, we can rebuild. We can. Why should I help you? Elena's voice wasn't angry. It was simply curious. 3 years ago, you told me I wasn't good enough for your family. You said I had no education, no connections, no value. You laughed when your friends mocked me. You stood by while your son broke my heart. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. I was wrong. I was cruel and snobbish and wrong. Yes, you were. I'm begging you, Elena. Not for me. For the hundreds of employees who will lose their jobs if the company closes. For the legacy that took generations to build. Elena studied the woman who once made her feel worthless. She felt Adrian tense beside her, ready to support whatever decision she made. I'll think about it, Elena said finally. But not because you're begging. Because innocent people shouldn't suffer for your mistakes. Catherine nodded, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. Thank you. Thank you, Elena. As Catherine walked away, heads bowed in shame, people stared. The great Catherine Thornwell had just been humbled by the woman she once dismissed as nobody. The confrontation with Marcus. Elena was talking with a group of gallery owners when she felt eyes on her. She turned and saw him. Marcus Thornwell stood across the room, staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. He looked different too. Still handsome, but tired. His tuxedo was expensive, but slightly worn. His confidence had cracked. He started walking toward her. Adrian moved closer protectively, but Elena touched his arm. It's okay. I need to do this. Marcus stopped a few feet away. Up close, Elena could see the dark circles under his eyes, the lines of stress on his face. Elena. His voice cracked on her name. You look incredible. Hello, Marcus. Can we talk? Please. Just for a minute.